Hey everyone, I'm Cameron with SpeedCubeShop.com. It's been a little while if you are a subscriber to the channel. I got super sick and had to take a 4-week leave from work, so sorry to leave you guys hanging, but I'm here today in a super brightly colored windbreaker, and I'm ready to make an awesome video for you guys covering the late 2022 flagship by MsCube, the MS3X. Let's get right into it. So I want to start off by saying that I absolutely love MsCubes in general and the feel of them. The designer is a super great guy who is always looking to innovate and figure out new ways around speed cubing technology, which is certainly commendable and exciting. But I have a history with the adjustment systems very much scaring me. And if you take a peek inside of the box, I start to get a little bit nervous already, but we'll cover that in just a few moments. First things first, let's get into the overall details of the cube. So the cube comes in at 76 grams in weight, and that's pretty standard for most speed cubes. It's a comfortable weight in the hand and nothing really too much to say about that. It's 56 millimeters, which again is very standard. It is factory magnetized and does have what I consider to be strong magnets. And that is something where it's a little bit different from other speed cubes where the moderate strength magnets are typically the more popular choice, but these do feel like they are a bit stronger. Now, as you add lubricant, they do feel a little bit more on the moderate side. So they're probably moderate to strong depending on how your setup is and who you ask. The MS3X is available in a exclusive stickerless bright exterior, which is a semi-gloss finish, and you have the option of the primary internal plastic, like what I have here today, or a black internal plastic. As we saw in the intro, you have a lot of accessories with this cube. So taking a look, we have a spare core, you have extra tension rings, which we'll talk about in a second, extra magnet rings, a bunch of extra magnets, a little screwdriver, and you do have this really cool new cube stand design. So it just kind of works something like that. Yeah, definitely a different take on cube stands. So let me know in the comments what you think about this cube stand. It's kind of interesting because the instruction guide actually indicates that it can be designed to work something like this and be like finger trick practice. So I guess you have to practice like your R's and your U's, which I guess is kind of a good secondary use for it, but I don't really think that most people are gonna whip out the stand just to drill their R's and their U's, or I guess their R's and their D's or whatever. So cool idea, but I don't know how realistic it actually is. Taking a look at the performance and customization of this cube, I first want to explain what we can customize and go over the factory settings. Then we'll talk about my preferred setup and how that impacted the overall feel of the cube. The MS3X gives you a few different tension adjustments. You have your standard screw, which you can use to just adjust the overall tension of the cube, make it tighter or looser. You have this blue ring, which can be used for the elasticity, which is kind of the compression of the spring to make it more or less snappy. The higher the number, the more snappy and tight it's gonna be. The lower the number, the looser and more kind of floppy it's gonna feel. Below that, you have this magenta magnet ring. This is where things get a little interesting. You have two different settings with that, and those magnets actually coincide with these magnets here in the corner feet, and you can do a lot of different customization with this magnet ring, which we'll expand on a little bit later. And I think it's a cool idea. And again, I don't certainly want to knock MsCube for trying different things and innovating, but I'm not too sure it's worth the hassle, but it might be. So if you have one of these and you've tried it, let me know what your thoughts are. Looking at the core, it's definitely different looking than other speed cubes, just given that you actually have these separate pieces inside of the core that house the threads for the screw. It seems like compared to what the accessory box has, they just give you alternating colors. So the replacement core, in the event that you need it, is blue, whereas the core that's in the cube is magenta or pink. And same thing with the tension nuts and the magnet nuts. They're just the opposite colors. So from my understanding, there is no difference in them. It's just different colors and their spares. While we have the cube open, we can take a look at the Sheng MsCube signature spider web design. I should have probably grabbed a black plastic cube for this, but you might be able to see a little bit. We have this kind of spider web design. I'm not really too sure how designers come to the conclusion that a certain design works. I kind of feel like they just pick something kind of random that sort of resembles like a honeycomb type thing and then throw it onto the piece and call it good. I could be wrong on that though. We don't have adjustable piece magnets aside from the magnet ring, which is kind of surprising given that we have so much other adjustments, including something that is brand new, which is the adjustable torpedo, or something that most old school cubers like myself are familiar with. They pretty much prevent the cube from popping. So you can see that when the pieces together torpedo is open, it locks on to the corner and prevents it from coming out. Now this is great for your speed solving, but when it comes to disassembly, if you are taking your cube a lot to clean it or lubricate it, you have to be really careful. What's cool about the MS3X is that you have the option of actually, I'm gonna say, opening the torpedo and having it in this position to where it functions, or you can use the screwdriver that comes with it, and you can actually just slide the screwdriver through the slot, pull up on it, turn it, let go, and now the torpedo is recessed. And honestly, it just kind of makes the cube feel a little bit different in terms of stability. I prefer to have my torpedo open because I think that the extra anti-popping mechanism and just the overall slight change in feel is something that I really enjoy and think it's well worth adding. I always really hate opening these kinds of cubes because they just go really heavy on the factory like oil, which is just really disgusting and hard to get off of your hands. So putting the cap back on and talking about the overall feel, it's a really nice turning feel. It's pretty quiet and it sort of has like a hollow deep tone. It's really satisfying just to turn this puzzle and just listen. I really like the sound and the overall feel. Out of the box, it was really fast, which is interesting because the samples that we received and debuted at our Fall Open event back in October were super gummy out of the box. So I guess someone somewhere decided that they need to change that, and these were really fast out of the box. And that seems to be the consistent feeling for the actual release, which I think was a good change. The overall feel is awesome. I ended up landing on, for me, the factory settings were 5 for the tension, 1 for the magnet, and the torpedo were not open. I personally chose 4 for the tension or elasticity and setting 2 for the magnet, and I have my torpedo open. And overall, you're kind of left with a snappy feel. It is a little loose. I just didn't personally want to adjust the screw and mess with that because even though it's a little bit more flexible and loose than I typically like, it doesn't really bother me too much. And I don't know, I think it's kind of a nice different feel, honestly. So I promised you guys I would talk about the magnet rings. So on that note, it's something that I understand, but also don't know that I fully understand. So pretty much what I gather is you get a bunch of different magnets. So these guys right here, and you need to install these magnets into these spare rings and make sure that you have the polarities correct, which I'll show you in the guide really quick. You have a ton of different configurations for these magnet rings, and honestly, the amount of time that you might spend on this, I mean, it might be the best thing ever that I'm missing out on, but it just kind of looks like a little bit of a headache to me personally. And the cube feels so great as it is with my settings that just simply changing the magnetic dial from setting 1 to setting 2 is really all that I needed, and I'm really happy with the feel. One quick thing I want to talk about before we kind of end off on my final thoughts. When you're adjusting this cube, it's important to understand what rotation direction does what and what your reference markers are. So if you rotate this tension elasticity wheel clockwise, I like to use the screwdriver to just kind of push on that tab right there. And that allows you to adjust click by click. You have a total of 5 clicks. And these notches right here are what you line up with the corresponding number. So right now I'm on setting 2, and I'm gonna go ahead and push it back to setting 4. And it's pretty easy to adjust, but you do want to be a little careful because it feels like it could break if you push too hard. Now, conversely, if we go counterclockwise, you're gonna notice that these magnet rings are gonna rotate. And if you can see in there, you can see that there are right around there, there's like a notch, so to speak, in the magnet right down there. And when you have that line matched up with the reference point on the centerpiece, that means you're on setting 2. And if it is straight, which you can adjust by turning this blue ring counterclockwise, you'll see that now we're on setting 1 because you can see right there that that little notch on the magenta piece does not line up with that reference point. So that's setting 1, and we're gonna go back to setting 2, right there. I ended up setting up my cube with Martian and Stardust lubricant, which I overall really like. It made it a little bit more quiet, smooth, buttery. Feels great. If you want a little bit of a faster feel, you could swap out the Martian for Lunar, which I tried on another cube and felt great as well. I think the cube is overall really nice. It's probably gonna be my main for a little while at least. I think that the customization is really cool. I'm happy to see that MsCube innovated with that magnet ring feature, and that Torpedo feature is also really cool. Over time, these features will without a doubt only be improved and probably featured in later technology. So curious to see how that develops, and I'm curious on your thoughts if you think that this is too much customization, or if you are excited to see how kind of SpeedCube manufacturers will keep pushing forward. So overall, my thoughts for the MS3X are very positive. I think it's an awesome cube for just about any skill level. The customization might be a bit daunting, so worst case, you can use it how it comes out of the box and it's still a fantastic cube. The price is $31.95 at SpeedCubeShop.com. I will have a link somewhere up here and in the description box down below. Please support me in my store. I really appreciate it, and yeah, if we can ever do anything to improve, let us know. Lastly, I decided to do this video a little bit differently. I didn't really script it as strictly as we usually do because I just wanted a more natural feeling video, which are a little bit more fun for me to make. So let me know, do you prefer the short, concise, scripted versions, or do you like more of the natural videos like this one was? Again, looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section down below. See you all in the next video. Good to be back.